Brightly and Dave sat down to discuss the various medical device regulatory frameworks as it relates to software. Here's what they've sorted out regarding device classification, software safety class, and level of concern.
If you're creating a medical device or involved in the industry, you've probably heard others reference classifications such as device classification, software safety classification, level of concern. And it may seem confusing and oftentimes ambiguous, and sometimes these terms get used interchangeably. So have you ever wondered why any of this is needed and where it all came from? So Dave and I are here to talk to you a little bit, very briefly, about that today. So Dave, how did these classifications all come about?
Well, it all starts with the FDA when they created 21 CFR 820, which specifies quality system regulations, and CGMP, which has 15 or so subparts, including sections for quality systems management and design controls.
So Dave, is 21 CFR 820 where the device classifications actually come from?
No, they don't come from CFR 820. They come from the FDA. The FDA decides what types of devices fall into which classes. And that's largely like, what do they do? What's the risk? That's how they determine it.
Okay.
The classification determines what level of controls you need to have while you're developing your device. So class 1 needs general controls, class 2 needs special controls, and class 3 needs pre-market submission.
So what does it mean when something's exempt? I've heard this term, and people have heard this term probably. So what is it when a device is class 1 exempt or class 2 exempt? What is it exempt from?
Sure. So only class 1 and class 2 devices can be exempt, and all they're exempt from is a submission.
So that means like the 510K for the class 2?
Right.
All right. Can things be exempt also from other parts of the process?
No, you need to have design controls.
Okay. Isn't there also a special carve out for class 1?
Yes, class 1 can actually be exempt from CGMP if you're a certain kind of device. But in our world, software, you're really not, because anything that is automated by software cannot be exempt from CGMP and requires design controls.
So does 21 CFR 820 tell you exactly how to make a medical device?
No, it does not. There are standards in place that tell you the kinds of things you need to do as far as documentation goes and documenting your design. There's a very, very high level one called 60601-1, which is a general standard for medical electronic equipment. This includes an overall standard, and then also particular standards for different types of devices. For instance, if there's a laser or if there's radiation or something like that in the device.
Okay.
So that is the device as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
When you get down to a device that has software in it, the software should be following a standard called 62304, which discusses the software development life cycle. As part of that, there is risk management. 62304 points to 14971 to fulfill. There's a lot of numbers.
Yeah.
Like, that's why this stuff's confusing.
Yeah.
14971 prescribes how you should be performing your risk management and the kinds of records that come out of your risk management process.
Okay. There's 60601 at the top level, and that describes the entire medical electrical equipment that you're creating, and then 62304 specifically for the software, and then there's this 14971 that's kind of on the side, and that's risk management, and it kind of flows through the whole rest of the process.
Yes.
How do we know that these are the standards that the FDA actually says are appropriate for medical devices?
The FDA just points to 62304 and 60601-1 as consensus standards, and you can look those up on the FDA website. 14971 is actually directly referenced in 62304.
Okay. I often hear these other terms like level of concern and minor, moderate, and major. And then also there are safety classes in A, B, and C. How do these things all work together? Where do they come from?
Right. So Level of concern is minor, moderate, and major. And that's just for any device.
That's
right?
for the whole device.
That's for any, yes.
Okay.
And that is determined based on your risk, the level of risk for using the device to people or environment or property or whatever. And you determine your level of concern prior to applying any risk control measures that you come up with. So if your level of concern is major, you're major no matter what you do to control that risk.
Okay.
Right, that's minor, moderate, and major. And based on your level of concern, that determines the content of your submission.
What I actually have to submit to the FDA
Yes.
when I submit to either get pre-market notification or pre-market authorization.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned Class A.
Yeah,
B, and
what's
C.
this? What's software
Right.
class or
So
A, B, and C?
a lot of people confuse A, B, and C with 1, 2, and 3, and they're different.
Right, yeah, like
Right.
so.
So 62304 has software safety classifications A, B, and C. And those classifications come from the level of risk that the software puts into the device. So if your software could expose someone to a hazardous situation that could cause serious or fatal injury, you're Class C.
Got it. So that's the most serious.
Right, most serious. Non-serious injury, Class B. No risk of injury, Class A. Right, and the thing that's different with software safety classifications and level of concern, well, one of the things that's different is that your software safety classification can be reduced through risk mitigation.
So I can have a moderate level of concern device with a Class A set of software in it. It could be Class B, it could be Class A, but it is after the mitigation.
Right.
So what is that? How does that relate to A, B, and C? How does that relate to what software documentation you need to put together?
It just it's pretty clear in 62304 which pieces of documentation are required for Class A, Class B, and Class C. And basically, if you're doing Class C, you're doing everything. If you're doing Class B, you're doing most of it. If you're doing Class A, there's a few things you can leave out.
So Dave, give me an example of something that is required in perhaps software safety class C, but maybe not in B or A.
Right. So software design is one of those things. In Class C, you have to break your software down into units and do very detailed designs. Class B, you just kind of have to list them out and give a summary. Class A, you don't even really have to do a design.
So Dave, thank you for helping us shed a little bit of light on the differences and similarities between level of concern and device classification and software safety classes.
You're welcome.
So all of these standards are available on the internet. In fact, all the FDA standards are free and freely available on fda.gov. The other standards are available, however, at a price from the standardization bodies of ISO and IEC. If you require any additional information, it's all out there, or give us a ring and we'd be happy to help.
If you found this video to be helpful and would like to learn more, or if you'd like to learn about another specific software development related topic, let us know in the comments below or send us a message at info@psi-software.com.